Hi, Wendy here from the Indigo Doors. I am just so glad that you are choosing to listen to this and to hear these messages and the energy that this painting kind of holds, no matter when you're listening to it. This was created or brought through or birthed December of 2022. And no matter when you're listening to it, it's going to be appropriate for you. And I love the magic of the universe in that way. Um, my goal is to kind of bring in new information from the universe and share with you and teach things for you to help you on your path to ascension and just the awakening that's happening on the planet. So even if you were to listen to this later, you'd get different things. It's weird, even how we hear things, we hear them, even if they were said to us. It's very, very beautiful and very profound. So thank you so much for showing up today wherever today is in the now. Um, just breathe in, breathe out. So happy you're here. Thank you. So this energy in this painting is, I called it accessing the light within. Um, and it's beautiful. I mean, it feels so delicious to me. I love using that word delicious because it's so satisfying in so many ways with my heart. And it just feels really good, but it feels delicious. And so no matter what you're, wherever you are, or whenever you are, um, everything's okay. Like everything is okay. This is what's going on. It's beautiful, right? It's beautiful. No matter what it is, it's like it's part of this beauty. Whether you're in the darker parts, right over here, or if you're in the lighter parts, no matter where you are, it's okay. It's part of this painting, this story. And that's part of the messaging here is the cyclical nature of our spiritual beingness. And so, no, there's never any mistakes, right? You're never doing anything wrong. It's all part of this beautiful process. Um, and there is a cycle, there is this act. And it's really getting in tune with your own natural rhythm. And how do you do that? You really check in daily. Like, how does, on a human level, it means checking in daily. How do you feel? Well, I'm tired. I need to rest. We're so um, kind of groomed to not listen to our own rhythm, right? We listen to other people's rhythm. What do they want us to do? And so we're kind of unlearning some of that still, and we're getting better at it every day, right? So some days are better than others because we all, I mean, I'm a parent, I get it, we all have expectations in the world of like, okay, we need to eat dinner or whatever, and that might not be in alignment with the rest of the family, but really, for the most part, just our intention being about how do we feel. And even if it wasn't in alignment, let's say I didn't want to make dinner or I wasn't hungry, I would check in and be like, I'd honor how I felt, right? But I also am honoring my commitment to those that I love too, right? And so we do make choices, and still it would be in alignment with my heart. So going off on a tangent, but sometimes spirit, especially in these videos and things, they take me on these things, these journeys. So this painting and wherever you are right now, it's about the cyclical nature. So trusting the process, really surrendering to it. And this beautiful river is this weaving. Again, there's this other, last month's message had a familiar weaving story to it, where there's this really trusting the flow and the weaving of your being. Um, and as you really trust that rhythm and that flow of how you're feeling today, and letting whatever emotionally is arising arise without controlling it or being dismissive or thinking it's inconvenient, but really honoring that, and allowing it to take you where you need to go, because our emotional selves um, is a key piece. It's related to our hearts. And our hearts is a multidimensional thing, space. It's the portal itself, right? And in this heart space, it is allowing you to connect to this other aspect of your being, your higher self. I need to make sure that you can hear me. So hold on one second. It's a live stream, so I can't really pause it. Check, check. All right, I'm hoping that's a little bit better audibly. Hopefully you can hear it. Okay, so um, just getting back to really trusting this flow in this river, right? Um, and trusting how you feel, whatever that is for you, you uniquely. Meaning, if you have to sit in your space of sadness or anger or some of these negative emotions, then you have to do it. Enlightenment does not mean that you're always positive, it means you're allowing for all of you to show up. And as you do, it's not like you're cultivating darkness by doing that. You're choosing love and you're loving these parts. They're meant to be seen, validated, and heard. And you'll notice the more you do that, the less you have those negative emotions because you do recognize that you have, you'll see. I mean, it's something you have to experience. Um, so you really start, this energy is about trusting that process. And you can see even like I'm going to move the camera here so you can kind of see up close. And you're going to obviously have an image of this. You're going to get an image of it. And there is like this weaving that takes place because you can almost see it here. It's like, it goes up, right? And then it kind of comes back down and you can see it. It kind of comes into here. And then even this, it kind of goes in here and then out. So there's like this, almost like DNA, like it's this weaving like our DNA. And that is a part of this. Because as you access, let's start here, the quantumness of our being, the light within, there is an awakening that's happening. That's just not some flippant thing that I'm saying. They're changing the water. There's something different in the water now. It's like activated. There's something different in our cells. It's like activated. For those of you that have been on this path for a while, you can recognize that it's everyone's awakening. People that you. So as we're being ignited in this way, right? Our experience of things is changing. And as we become more of, because our light is awakening, we're becoming aware of the light within all things. And so part of this expansion or awakening on the planet is they're calling a fifth dimensional expansion, is becoming aware of the planet and the sacredness and the light within all things, within all beings, within all inanimate objects, everything. Every single thing is sacred. And within this quantumness of this awareness of the light within ourselves themselves, you're talking about like going into a macro world, macro is like going out into the universe, right? Big, keeping going, and it keeps going. And we're connected to even that. And they've proven how what we're doing here is affecting other universes. It's crazy, it's sweet. But also the micro world. So you can find spirit and light out, and then you could also go find it within. And within ourselves, within our DNA, there's like portals and access to other realms and all of our lives. You know how our Akash, which is like the fancy word for basically all of our lives, not just past lives, but all of our lives, because it's a lot, time is not linear, it's circular, meaning we have access to all of them in the now. And what separates this reality from that is our consciousness. And it's a very high frequency to be able to go in through our DNA into other lives. Now, those of you that are aware of some of your lives, it's easier for our brains to interpret past lives because it's something that we've already experienced currently in this body, but it's harder for our brains to conceptualize the future because it's kind of like these physical bodies, this physical body has not yet experienced the vibration of that. But the physical body now has experienced all the ones in the past because the earth kind of holds it. So it's like tapping in, and you have to be able to let go of what we think we know. So as you practice that, and stay open and you access the light within, the more you become and the more you love yourself and the more you allow for these emotions to come up and begin to have access to all of your lives because it's time to remember who you are. It's time to remember who you are in all of your glory. You know, you have lives within you that know abundance, let's say physical, financial abundance, and you have lives within you that knows disparity or poverty. Um, you have lives where you've been men and women. We all have lives within us where we have killed people and where we have been killed. And in this process, in this journey of humanity, we most cultures throughout time have dedicated their lives to searching for the truth, searching for where we come from. And there are cultures that have existed on the planet that fully remember and have interacted with other sentient beings from other planets. And that's powerful. That's a remembering, right? And some of that, and there's even other cultures that we are just beginning to recognize in archaeology, like way older, like 10,000, 14, 15,000 years ago, um, of kind of cultures that have had these experiences with beings from other planets. And part of the reason why that's important now is a remembering, but also these other sentient beings, they have been through the awakening process themselves. They have been through this, what we're calling like almost like this chaotic space and time. They have been through this, what this change looks like. This is familiar. And so they can offer help and guidance as a parent would to a child. It's like familiar to like a child learning how to drive a car, right? It's like if they've never experienced that before, you can't you can't describe to them what driving is. They have to experience it, right? And then while they're experiencing it, you can offer support and guidance. That's what these other sentient beings can do. You still got to get in the car and drive. The teenager, right, still has to do that. As terrifying as that might be, it's still important to, we still need to, it's a full body experience. They can't just tell us, but they can offer some guidance, and even the information sometimes over time helps that teenage driver. And that's kind of where we're at. We're growing up, right? And so there's some growing pains, and it's chaotic and it's emotional. And even I feel like it's like a teenage year, you know, it's like, and that's kind of what this process is about. It's like really allowing for that because in some ways, in this quantumness, in this expansion of becoming aware of our past lives, we start even having emotions and responses to things that don't make sense in this time. Meaning, I might have a fear of somebody I just met. I might really dislike them, and I don't even know why. in a Buddhist philosophy, and we talked about this in one of our podcasts this week, so you could look it up. It's what do we do? In the Buddhist way, we would ask them for forgiveness. Everything that's coming up is things that need to be loved, especially if it's fear-based. Fear-based meaning hate, anger, those kinds of things, pain. When we're forgetting who we really are, because we are whole and beautiful beings of light, fully loved. So anything in that opposite of that just needs to be loved. The power of love. Love is the most powerful thing on the planet. Honestly, it's the most powerful thing in the universe. We're just beginning to understand it. So in this awakening and remembering all of our lives, it's almost a reminder of that there are other lives though too. It's not just bad stuff. It's beautiful stuff. And in that way, it's remembering, and it can help, it can offer healing, right? It can offer this beautiful blanket, warmth blanket of sustenance and nurturing. For a long time, I would call on like parents that I've had in the past and in the future that have given me the support that I needed, right? Um, or I call on a life where all my needs were met physically, like financially. It helps me move through and remember the frequency of abundance. I can't just sit in poverty and hope for abundance and what that feels like because I'm feeling poverty, right? So it's shifting into the feeling of abundance and kind of practicing that. So that's accessing that. And that's part of the message here is beginning to access all of who you are, every aspect of who you are. And you are a very, very powerful being. Look at what's all in your Akash, from the Vikings, from all of this, the magic, the Merlin-esque times, they were very powerful times, right? Or how we access the earth magic and the awareness of other beings. There are things, and that's partly what this being back here, Easter, this is where it kind of blew my mind because I couldn't even conceptualize. This is a sculpture, because these are both sculptures, right? This is a sculpture behind him of another culture that focused on connecting with other sentient beings, right? What we call the afterlife, which to me is just an experience outside of this experience, right? So kind of connecting with that. And this one was one that I couldn't grasp. Um, so to me, it was almost beautiful to leave it in the unknown, because if I focused on it, I could probably conceptualize it. But it's that. It's even the lives that we don't even remember. Remember those, if you can. Remember what you can't remember, which is, you know, paradox. You can't, right? Because you can't remember it. So, um, and that's important. It's important to almost leave the womb or the openness, right? Like, we don't know anything. And right when you think you know, remember that you don't know. Even for me, I continually practice that because it's like, it's magic to me. And that's where I'm always open to the possibility. So, in the cyclical nature, right, of remembering all of who we are in the light, right, there is this interconnectedness. The more you cultivate yourself, the sacredness within yourself, right? And you're honoring and loving and integrating all these parts, even past life, future lives, whatever, you naturally gain a more compassionate stance because you remember what it's like. And I don't mean just love yourself where you're avoiding these darker emotions. An enlightened being knows sadness and knows anger and just chooses differently. And I don't mean choosing differently in a obedient way. I mean knows that they have the power to choose. They know it in all of their being. And If you don't know that, you'll feel victim to your emotions. Like, man, I gotta feel sadness again. Oh man, I gotta feel anger again. You'll feel almost um, bothered by it. But the wise one knows that if you get to experience sadness and anger, and if you are, there's a reason for it. Meaning it's an essential piece because your feelings matter and it's a unique, wise connection to your higher self and to your unique path to ascension. And that's why we teach and cultivate. That's what Brenda and I do is we try to teach and cultivate this. And no, that means nobody has the answers but you, right? We can help each other, right? We definitely can help each other and inspire each other, empower each other, but really it does come down, you doing the work means you sitting with yourself and becoming to know yourself, master yourself. And as you do, and it cultivates this compassion and it cultivates this awareness of the magic and the patterns and all of this like puzzles and like beauty of this intricate sacred design. It You begin to see the light and the magic with all living things, all the sacredness in a plant, the sacredness in a squirrel, the sacredness in a leaf, the sacredness of even your car, even anything. Everything's made up of the earth, right? Everything. So everything's sacred. Everything that we do, every single thing is sacred and beautiful and amazing. Even the pencil, even this pen. And beginning to talk to it. And I know that sounds weird, but that's partly what this message is. It's like get to know, talk to these things in, like I said, like you know nothing. Know nothing. I don't know if I'm Italian. I don't know. I know nothing. And start to say, hey, can I communicate to this? What is this saying? What does this feel like? What does this feel like? What does this feel like? What's the difference? Cultivate your own unique language. We talked a lot about that last month, cultivating your own unique language. And that's kind of a reiteration of this. Work with the elements of nature. Work with fire, work with water, work with the earth, work with metal. Talk to it, yield it. This is the fabrics of this reality, and it's meant to help you and guide you on your journey. And as you, like I said, cultivate that light within, you do begin to see that the world is an extension of you. And as you get to this extension and you start working, and this, I can talk to you all day, but you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to sit and talk to the plants, talk to the squirrels, ask them, what is it that I need to know? And maybe they just want to sit and hold you, right? Because they are whole and complete. Nature is. And that's where it's a beautiful gift. Because they're whole and complete. Nature always is. So whenever I go out into the forest, now I know this. I've known this for a very long time. I've honestly known it since I was a young girl. Um, Whenever I go out into the forest, it's going to mirror anything I need to look at. So sometimes when I walk into the forest, I'm really afraid. I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid. I just feel fear. And that happens to me a lot when I don't have time in the forest. I just feel fear because there's all this unprocessed stuff, right? So in that way, it really is such a beautiful, because it's a neutralizer. And because the forest is balanced, I can really see where I'm not balanced in some places, right? And so I would always use that as a tool to kind of figure out where it is that I needed to look at, what I need to love, and what I need to balance out. And to balance it out, you allow for it to express. You allow for it to kind of come out. Um, and that's a huge gift, right? And there's no judgment. The earth can sit there and fill you up. So as I'm balancing, and I might be crying underneath a tree or hugging it or whatever, um, I am, it's also filling me up and balancing me out, right? So I'm crying, 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 and then I get filled up, and it's like such a beautiful gift, and we need to access that more. And I don't care if you're in the desert or in the snow or in summertime or the ocean. All natural elements are there to help balance us back out. I mean, what a gift that is. It's huge and it's essential on this path. I mean, that's partly what this is. And notice that it is the spectrum of light, color spectrum, right? Of like a beautiful, it's like the rainbow. And that's significant. That has a lot of meaning here. And so for those some of you that are seeing this, it's going to stimulate thought in that regard of like, why would that be important? Partly it's how we experience this reality, right? This electromagnetic wave and how we're able to break it down. And we're going to talk a little bit about the limits of how our perception of that reality and how we can move beyond it. Um, these lifetimes, remember this representing these lifetimes in our own Akash of our desire to connect to where we come from. So it's not just Christian, it's not just it's not just the religions that we know right now. It's in some ways I feel like it's really naive in thinking, you know, um, it's so much more than religion, you know, and a religion is a man-made construct, so it's going to change over time as our consciousness expands. That's why religion right now is changing, because it has to incorporate our growth and our own awareness. We're becoming aware, more and more aware of um, the needs of our psyche, the needs of incorporating our own unique relationship with God, because we're growing up. It's changing and it's beautiful. It's amazing. And like historically, if you look at it from a bigger picture, there's been so many religions, and and what that and we're on this journey of expanding it, and it's exciting. It is beautiful. It's all about love, and it's all about. It's not scary. I know that for some that is really scary because it shakes up some things for them, but everything is meant to change. Nothing is meant to be stagnant and kept the same. Never. So this representation of shifting through sand is like the sand of time, of our commitment to ourselves, to finding and discovering our truth, whatever that may be for each of us, right? Um, and our pathway to light. And everybody has their own path to light, and discovering what that is. And it really is trusting yourself, really discovering your own relationship with God. God's talking to everybody individually. It's not our responsibility to worry about what somebody else is doing. It's just worrying about ourselves and our own dedication to just light and love, right? And you can feel this beautiful process and the sustenance of it. So it's kind of shifting through these sands of time, accessing it within our own being, because we have that power within us to do it. And that leads to like this portal. So it's kind of like you could go in and out of this awareness as much as you need to. Um, and this portal, obviously, the sacred geometry is just again reiterating the sacred design of all of it, the sacred design um, of these processes, of what even thinking is, of what even creating lessons is, what mirrors are, lessons are, all of these things of just experiencing the great I am. But there is a science behind it, meaning how it works. And I love that. And we're just kind of discovering some of these things, which is beautiful. This is obviously a portal. So it's a portal to this world, to this, to the earth itself. Um, so as you kind of master this, the more you're going to become aware of the light within all things. We kind of talked about that. And as you cultivate that, and you really start seeing the intelligence and the light and the love in all things is a certain frequency. Um, it can transcend you through time and space. And that's where it gets really kind of cool and trippy. You can see this is a portal, and this portal leads you, as you can see, kind of goes down here, it kind of comes out here to this. This is almost like behind the veil. This is kind of like between the cracks. This is like behind the curtain. You kind of begin to really see things from a macro point of view, and you realize how much we're the masters of creating our reality. So why not create heaven on earth? Why not create everyone is, expanding in their gifts. They say that we're in the age, we're in the beginning of the age of miracles, because it's like once we start having this kind of awareness where we literally are the creators, we are spirit in form, when we really know that in every way, and we've managed where we're literally cultivating light and harmony and unity, where we're no longer fighting, right? We're no longer creating the fights outside of ourselves. We literally are powerfully creating systems and cultures and societies where it is nothing but about love and growth. Could you imagine? Where everyone's gifts are exponentially growing, because that's the only game in town. We realize that, and we're getting out of our own way, and we realize how powerful we are, and we create nothing but support in that area. How awesome is that? So it's not just one or two or three people that are acknowledging their own gifts. It's thousands and millions of people living their truth, living their gifts. I mean, what do we do then when there's no more fights? There's nothing left to fight. There's nothing to fight. We're fighting ourselves. It's kind of silly. We start entering into this space, this magical space, right? There's three steps to it, and that is the symbolism of the power of three. And the power of three is, of course, has all of the same significance that it has throughout time, like the Holy Trinity. But there is a conscious understanding of the number three, and that is moving from a two, which is duality. What's duality, right? Duality is you're in lesson. Duality, we talk about this a lot, where the number two is it's polarity. It's also partnership, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but we need to understand what polarity is at two. So when I am something, to experience I have to know what I'm not. So I split off. So I can experience Wendy. The only way that it's kind of like the only way that I can actually see myself is if I look in a mirror, right? So in the same way, we split off and energetic with one, break differently. We have to split off, and to understand happiness, we need to know sadness. It's the only way to do it. Because if you literally just experienced happiness everywhere, you wouldn't know the difference. It would just be all one thing. It'd be all one color, right? To experience blue, you need to know what green is, or purple, or orange, right? And it's really about relationships with the other colors, right? This one isn't like this, right? Now we take all of this for granted, and that's why some of December's message is like, we need to forget what we know. We're babies. We're definitely babies. So with the number two, we begin with one, and we want to say, hey, I want to know what happiness is, and we split off. And now I'm happiness, and now I need sadness, or whatever the opposite of happiness is. So now I can recognize what happiness is. That's what two is. That's what the two represents. Two separate things, right? Now, the three, this is from an evolutionary standpoint. I'm going to create a video on all of the quantum numbers. It was channeled to me, it was given to me. Is understanding I'm happy. Now, if I'm a human being and I want to experience happiness, I'm going to experience a kind of a back and forth between happiness and sadness, and I'm going to be like, well, I'm really happy. Oh my God, now I'm really sad. Oh my God, I'm really happy. I'm really sad. And we're going to oscillate between those two frequencies, because everything is a frequency. I'm going to oscillate between those two frequencies until finally I recognize that I'm fully sadness and I'm fully happiness, right? I can be fully sad. And then you realize that you're in charge. There comes a point when you recognize in any lesson, and you've done this maybe with a partner or a bad relationship, right? You do realize at one point you have a choice. You begin to have an awareness that you're both. I can be happy and I can be sad. I fully know what happiness is, and I fully know what sadness is. And as a conscious being of light, because I am, what aligns with me more, happiness or sadness? Because there's no judgment. This is where, like, spirit's like, there is no judgment in what you choose. So you can choose sadness or happiness. And so duality is kind of staying in that system, staying in that victimization, staying in, I'm happy, but now that person's making me sad, and now whatever. But then you realize and you empower yourself to say, hey, I am both happiness and sadness. Which one aligns with me? And I'm going to choose happiness. And as soon as you recognize that you're both things, so you basically master the two, the separateness. As soon as you master them, you go back to the one, you move into the three. Because you're no longer the I am, because you've now experienced something else outside of the I am. You experience happiness and sadness. You've experienced the two, let's say. And this is multidimensional. That can be a metaphor for millions of different things. Experience of the I am. And then you recognize that you're all, and then you choose, then you move into the three. That's the power of the three, moving from duality, recognizing our power, our divinity, right? Moving from victimization into empowerment, shifting into that and recognizing that we get to create it. That's what leads to this portal. That's what leads us back home. So in this, even though this painting is an embodiment of the number three, so it's taking two things, partnering them together and creating something different, or creating a more of an awareness. This is why it's almost like quantum physics, because you're no longer the one. You can't go back to one. The one becomes two, and then the two becomes the three. This embodies that three. It's a very creative energy. It's literally the power. You literally are so powerful, you can create anything that you ever desire. You really are. And the more power you have in that space is mastering your emotions, not mastering like dominating, like stopping them, but understanding their purpose. And then moving in shifting your belief systems to align with what aligns with you. And that's where that duality, that one or the two, right? Happiness is sad, discerning what aligns with you. Now, we are people that like the frequency of love, and we are beings of light. And I remember who we are, and I choose to align everything with the frequency of love. So that's my base. So aligning all my belief systems, the structure of my reality, to that of expansion, to all my needs are met and everything is possible. So my limiting belief systems, and we're taught some belief systems from the moment we're born, right? In the culture of our family, the culture of our society, culture meaning environment. And I look at all those parts of myself, and then I say, because I am divinity in form, whether that aligns with me or not. Does that align with love? Does that align with openness? My ideas around gender, males, females, sexuality, anything. Does it align with love? Does it align with allowance? Does it align with tolerance, right? Does it align with compassion? Does it align with all of these things we've already determined in so many other this process of the three that leads you to this awareness of this creative energy. And you begin to understand the power that you really have in creating your world. It's about really looking at that, where you're still in that process of the two, of the duality. And there's no judgment. There really is. It's more about me teaching or remembering the power that you actually really have and that you might not have been aware of. That's what this is about. And if you're stuck in a situation where you feel triggered emotionally, you're in lesson, there's some part of you that needs to learn love. And just like the Buddhists, it could come from a past life or a future life. And remembering that you're all parts. So if you're the victim right now, there have been times when you have not been, because you are experiencing that whole coin of, let's say, happiness. Like, so to know happiness, I need to know sadness. So you do oscillate. So it's a bigger picture and very small picture. It's like, so if you've experienced abuse, you have been abused. You have taken power over people. If people are taking power over you right now, you have taken power over people. If not this life, you have done it in the past. And that's just, I mean, it might be a hard pill to swallow, but that's just like the physics of frequency and how lessons work. And it does kind of lead to, but taking responsibility for the power of your life, it's empowering because you get to choose. And that's part of this message. It's like, remember where we come from. We're bigger than all of these experiences that we have as humans. We really are. And there will come a day when we remember all of that and we move beyond certain behaviors. They've said before to us, Spirit has said that we'll never, like, they don't have depression. Like, where we come from, like the other sentient beings in other parts of the universe, they haven't been in those frequencies in thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They don't even know what it's like not to remember who we are, who they are, and where they come from. Does that make sense? And so they're really intrigued with this process because they haven't experienced it in a really long time. And so in that way, we're really lucky to experience the spectrum of emotion and the spectrum of the I am. So I get to be mean, or I get to be kind. I get to be all of these beautiful things. And it really is such a gift. So remembering the gift of where we are on this journey and this beautiful voided space. You can see almost how the emptiness of space here. So staying open to the possibility. We talked about last week, tapping into that light within our beings, the light within ourselves. So we have access to all of our lives right now. But regardless of that information, just trusting whatever's showing up for you is a divine, sacred design. And really trusting no matter what's showing up, it's something that you need to love. And so if there's nothing like to love, it's just enjoying your life then, right? You just get to enjoy it and just really enjoy the ride, the flow. I'll turn this upside down just so you can see it from that direction because it is about the cyclical nature, the other side of the coin. And in this way, you can almost see almost like this beautiful like hug or cellular, like ovally shaped. And it just feels so good to me. I hope that portrays to you. Um, Again, reiteration of where we come from. So now we have the macro view of the pyramids and pointing to Orion's belt, but the Orion's belt points to the star Sirius, and that's kind of where they think that we come from. And it's just kind of staying open to the possibility of just this grand, beautiful, actual love. And we have so much help. We have so much help. It's like the Northern Star, like the Star of Bethlehem. I mean, this is all the same stuff, right? And what a beautiful story of humanity, our search for this love and this connection. And it is in us and it's outside of us. So we get to experience it inward. And as we experience it inward, we get to experience it outwardly, which is so beautiful. So I really hope you can feel this and you'll see it with your card. It turned out super nice. And the last thing, you can't really see it, but I'm hoping that you can kind of see it a little bit. See those? There's like two beings inside that portal. And that is truly about, again, that taking the two and moving it into a three. So, yeah. All right. So, just kind of recapping, love where you're at. You have a lot of help. You are a quantum being of light, meaning you have so much belief system. Definitely sign up for one of those or just keep watching our videos to keep learning how to do that. Changing our belief systems. and honoring our emotions, right? And then just have a beautiful, beautiful holiday and new year. I'll talk to you in the new year about new energy and stuff. But I appreciate you being with me on this journey. It has truly been an honor, and I will talk to you next month. Namaste.